Today, we are going to be talking about how we achieve 50% productivity boost while building a RAG-based e-commerce site with AI agents. I'm your host, Ed Charbonneau, and with me is Ryan Spencer from Bitovi. And we're going to be talking about our Telerik and Kendo Agentic UI Generator a bit today. And our customers are really enjoying using this tool, and they have reported back to us through a survey that they are seeing upwards of a gain of 50% in productivity when they're doing the same tasks with the UI generator versus without. So people are really happy with it. So we're going to share some of that with you today. And overall, we have an AI strategy here in our UI components of AI everything everywhere. So we have developer productivity tools with coding. So that's our AI assistants, the Telerik and Kendo MCPs that we call the Agentic UI Generator, as well as some other assistants in our portfolio. And then we also have our end user AI powered components, things that help you build chat interfaces, do speech to text, and a lot of the cool AI first application strategies that you see from a user interface perspective.
Telerik has a tool, an MCP server that you can connect your AI agent to. So what does that even mean? MCP, Model Context Protocol. This is going to connect your AI model to your data, your tools, things you want specifically, right? So in with a lot of development, you might say, hey, Copilot, can you build me this button using Kendo UI? And what it would normally do is just rely on whatever its training is. And these AI models, they're out there scraping the internet, which means they're looking at 10-year-old blog posts. They're coming up with, the wrong things a lot. And with MCP, we can connect directly to the docs. And Telerik is a bit more advanced than that. They're connecting you um, to the real world docs. They're connecting you to examples, best practices, and I think you can go from there. It's just a real helpful tool to
Yeah.
line you up, get you down the right path.
So what we have is an MCP server that plugs into any AI assisted workflow that you have that supports MCP tools. And when you ask a question to, say, Copilot or one of those tools, the Agentic UI Generator is an orchestrator that has many tools underneath of it. So it's going to take whatever the question was and turn that into calls out to all of its different tools. Whether you're doing layouts, has a specific layout tool. If you are building with one of our component libraries, it'll recognize those components and give the context back to the calling assistant all of the component functionalities, APIs, and documentation. And then if you need to do some styling, or maybe you have some icons, there's specialized tools that it can call out and bring back specific icons. So maybe if you give an example of what you want to do and you have an icon name in there that's not supported by the library, the tool's going to go out and search a database of icons that actually are available and will make a match as to what would fit as a replacement for the icon that you asked for. So you're not going to get any hallucinations and bad code when you name something wrong or ask for something incorrectly, because this is going to correct it for the AI and for Copilot itself. And then once that's all done, we also have a validator tool that can run and correct any mistakes that the Copilot assistant has made along the way. So it's an all-inclusive tool inside of a tool. Like we've got the agentic generator that orchestrates all of these behaviors for you. So when you run a query, it's going to go through all of these things internally and bring back the valid information.
And I think that's a big part of your 50% productivity boost is
Mm-hmm.
you're getting the right answer the first time. You're not doing rework. Uh, you're not having to spend a bunch of time working through what that code is, and having to fix little bits that are off.
Yeah.
You get the right answer, you're faster.
Yeah, you're spending less time reiterating on things because it's not you're not resolving errors, and that goes for you and your Copilot assistant. So I always say Copilot, you could use anything, Claude or whatever it is you're using, but it generally the agent workflow is, it writes some code, it compiles, maybe there's some errors, and then it rewrites some more code and then checks for errors, and it does that sort of thing. With our Agentic UI generator, you're going to see a lot less of those errors pop up, and the iterations are a lot quicker.
Yes.
So Ryan, if you want to share your screen, you're more than welcome. You can take over. I know you've got some coded demos to show.
In this example, I've got Figma set up, and I've got KendoReact Assistant. And once you put what you need into this file, you'll get little commands. You can start that server. Your agent can start these as well, but one of the important things here is you do have to have a Telerik license. There's a free Kendo license for partial components, but if you want all of Kendo and be able to access this MCP server, you will need a license. You will need to tell it where that license is, or you can actually, and I won't scroll any farther because this is a real license, you can give it the license directly. Um, sometimes in setting these things up, some of your local environment isn't quite right, and it can't access things the way it needs to. So sometimes you have to put the license in there if you can't get anything else to work. First thing you need to do is, of course, you install VS Code, you install Cursor, you install Claude Code, whatever IDE you want to use. You make sure that it has the Copilot extension if it's VS Code, um, and then you set up your MCP file. Another little gotcha on this was if you use a node version manager here, NVM or FNM, sometimes the path gets messed up. And so if you try to start this thing and it doesn't run and it gives you an npx error, just do a quick Google npx MCP server and you'll get the answer. You just have to make sure it's in your path. So now you've got this, you're running, you're ready. You're ready to develop. You've got what you need. As a little bonus, one of the things that I suggest adding is Playwright. Playwright is a browser automation tool. There are extensions for every IDE, and this allows your agent to see what it's doing. So you're going to have your agent build something, pop up the browser, take a screenshot, and be able to look and get feedback. Tests and browser screenshots will really improve your output.
There was a good
And
question in
then,
chat too about the NPX part of it. If you're using .NET, we publish our .NET MCPs under NuGet, and those are run using the .NET command line internally. So you don't physically run that .NET command yourself, but in the command option there, you'll see the .NET executable instead.
yeah, I should mention I'm on a Mac. I'm using VS Code. I'm going to use React. Some of those little details are going to be specific to maybe my setup, uh, but most of the rest we talked about today, like this works for Blazor, this works for Java, like the general concepts here. And let's get into skills, prompts, and instructions because these definitely apply everywhere. Don't think they're just a React thing. All right. So in your .github folder, in the case of VS Code, put these in other places. I think the three most important files that you can put are your instructions file, your skills files, and your prompts. So instructions are the big broad guidelines for your project. Use React, structure folders like this, hit 80% test coverage, right? It's kind of like, it's almost like ESLint or your READMEs, but writing it for AI, right? Putting some guardrails on things and in a real general sense. You can put instructions files deeper into your project, and then they will be scoped to just that folder and within it. But you also would generally have a instructions file up at the top level like this. And in this case, we have a mono repo with a client, a server, and then some shared instructions. Pop open one of these instruction files. As you can see, it's very, very detailed and complicated. You don't have to write this. You can write a little bit and then work with your AI to just improve this instructions file, and it'll write it. It'll format it nicely. So instructions are the big things that load every single time, and they're your general guidelines. Next up are skills. Skills are more specific instructions, things your AI doesn't need to know for every prompt. Your AI agent has a limited amount of context or sort of memory that it can handle at any one time, and you don't want to overload it. So um, sometimes you're making Kendo components, and sometimes you're um, just working with your API. You don't need to know how to make a Kendo component to connect to the API. So you put that information in a skill, and it's only loaded when the AI thinks that it's needed. So we've got a whole bunch of skills here. And if we look at, here's a skill to create a skill. Right at the top, we have just a name and a description. Your AI will read the description of all of the skills and only load the rest if it thinks that description fits the prompt that you give it. Do I need this right now? And then it pulls it in. So again, we could make a skill that and just ask our AI to help us. So here's maybe a basic skill. It can be anything. And here's my espresso machine, and I will make sure that this skill file is in my context. And I will say, can you improve this skill? And then it's going to go through and it's going to make this far better. In every situation, I think it makes sense to work with your AI to build out these skills, these prompts, instructions, and make them better. It's going to run. It's going to start changing this file in a minute. And then we could ask it, how do I make espresso, or why is my espresso not strong enough? And it'll tell us because it's going to be all in this skill. Jump back here. The third thing, once we have our skills, actually maybe I'll show you off the Kendo component skill I had, right? Here is a skill, make Kendo components. It's got examples and templates in it, and it built all of this out. And we have, I told it to make sure it points out the Kendo MCP server. One thing I've found is if you have a specific MCP server you want to use, like the KendoReact piece, call it out in your skills, call it out in your instructions. You'll get better results. Sometimes the AI tools will just skip over it if you don't make it very explicit. Also, keep an eye on it, because sometimes for whatever reason your MCP connection will go down. It'll stop, and the AI agent won't tell you anything's wrong. It'll just keep working and hallucinating and making stuff up. So we've got, here's a very complicated skill, and here is a much simpler skill. This one was just written by the AI right now. Not super useful for development, but maybe useful for keeping you awake. All right, so we got skills, and then let's jump over to prompts. So prompts are like shortcuts or macros. when you use AI, you're going to ask it to do a certain thing, and you're going to find you ask it to do that certain thing over and over again, like write tests for this component. By using prompt files, we can take that command and be a bit more specific and maybe write a few paragraphs and then just be able to just reference it quickly. So one of the things we're going to do later is write a spec. And instead of just saying write a spec, I get a couple paragraphs on how I want the spec to work. And I can use the name of the file /bit spec. There we go. And it pops up. It's a shortcut, right? If I hit enter here, what it's going to do is it's just going to basically inject this text into the window and run it. Prompts are pretty great, and you can keep iterating on them over time. Now's probably a good time to mention, if you go to, we have a link full of links. Some of this is written up in a blog post that I did. I kind of wrote a blog post of sort of the same things we're going to talk about today. You can jump over there to follow along. There is a GitHub link to this project. This is just an open source project we use for training. The link will go to a specific branch that has Kendo on it, because we use it for training, and not everybody has a Kendo license. The main branch doesn't have Kendo on it, so you'll see a little bit different setup. All right. So
I just shared that URL in chat to everyone, so you can find that URL list. And it should take you to all the materials that we mentioned here today.
All right. So let's do just a quick review of the 3 file types that I've mentioned. Instructions apply with every prompt. They're automatically applied to every prompt, and they're going to be your big general sort of architectural guidelines, big project guidelines. Then you have skills, which are more specific. These are going to be things that the AI selects when it thinks it needs to. It's just going to be smaller, more specific things. And then the prompts, those are things you select. They're shortcuts to be able to get a nice, detailed prompt request. You find your prompt works well, use it a couple of times, tweak it, make it really good, get good results, and you can share it with the rest of your team, put it in the prompt file, and become a better AI developer. All right. That's now we're set up, right? We've got our MCP connection set up. We have our instruction files, our skills, and our prompts. We know how to develop. So what's next? Is it to tell the AI to build the thing? No, that's not how you would work in the real world. You wouldn't just tell your junior developer, "Hey, go build me this." You would have you'd have detailed instructions, a Jira ticket, something that tells people exactly what you want. And so we're going to do kind of the same thing with AI. We're going to create a spec document, and we're going to use AI to help us build that spec document. So we can jump to a folder called specs. Here we go. Now, in my experience, it is totally fine to commit these specs to the repo. You don't have to, but they can be referenced later, like, why did I build it this way? So we keep spec folders at the top of the project, and just keep adding to them. Ed, how are we doing in the chat? Any questions I need to
I think
jump on here?
folks are following along, and they're really interested to see you generate some code with this.
Okay. Good. Well, All right, so first we need that spec document. So um, in in this case, um, I'll show you a finished spec document, and then we'll jump back. So I wrote, it was a pretty simple, like, hey, this project has Lucite icons. I want to use the Kendo icons. Uh, be sure to use the Kendo MCP server. And it wrote all this. This was the prompt. It went through, and then in our prompt, our shortcut, we ask it to, don't guess, put questions at the end, and I'll answer it. And so it gave me some questions like this: should we create this wrapper? No, use the icons directly. Should we do this? Just size them the same. And then we actually have another prompt that is answered questions. So then it says there's questions, go look for them, and go update the doc. And then we get a little more complex prompt, and it's got details in how to test, how to build out everything. Now, we're doing this because one, it gives us a chance to see the way the AI is thinking about approaching the problem and make corrections. Because once we get it started and it's running and it's going, it can be moving too fast for us to really guide it at times, right? So we can go into this document and make some changes. The other thing is the size of that context window, right? The AI can only hold so much in its memory at a time, and we want to keep that context window small. So when it's planning, it's going to be looking through your code base and figuring things out. And you can see in Copilot here, this little in the chat window, this little pie chart, this is telling you how big that context window is. The bigger it gets, the more it's going to cost you to run, and the slower it's going to run. So we build out this spec, and then when we're done, we can actually create a whole new chat window, which clears the context, and now it can just look at the spec document without having to look at everything else, and have a um, fresh new context window to work from. So in this project, I've already replaced the icon. So let's write a spec for replacing select. So it'd be something like, this project currently uses, I think it's using radix. So replace the select component with Kendo UI. Be sure to use the Kendo MCP server, something like this. Do our spec document, and my currently open window is part of my context, and it's going to do a bunch of reasoning. It's going to look at some of my instructions files, and it's going to start working through um, gathering data, trying to be as smart as possible.
While that's running,
Maybe
I'm
it's
going to
work.
mention real quick, we've got a lot of Visual Studio folks in the audience, and they're asking how this would work in Visual Studio. So as somebody who uses both Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code, um, I will be upfront and honest. Visual Studio does lag behind Visual Studio Code feature-wise. So there may be some things with skills and some of the other markdown files that Visual Studio may or may not recognize. So most of the workflow should work as you see it here. And if there is something that isn't quite mapping one-to-one yet, I would give it a release cycle or two and it'll catch up. For example, like mentioning specific prompt files and agents and MCPs and things was not a feature in Visual Studio 2026 until very recently. They've updated the UI and added some of these things in. So I don't know the full scope of everything that's supported by Visual Studio yet, but it will be added eventually. And I would get on the Visual Studio feedback channel if something isn't at parity with Visual Studio code that you see and you like using, and let the Visual Studio team know that that is a priority for you. Because again, they do lag behind Visual Studio code. So you're going to see more bleeding edge things in VS Code than Visual Studio.
If the only thing you can do is some sort of instructions or agents file, uh, skills can be put in that file. It'll just make your context window bigger. So, that's fine. You can still do that. And if you don't have some sort of prompt file where you can sort of pick and choose, you can always just still have prompt files and just copy and paste them over. There's nothing really magical about those files, um, other than sort of how they're brought in. Right? Instructions loads every time. If you put all the skills in the instructions files, they'll all be there. Yeah, if you copy and
Yeah.
paste the prompt, same thing.
So one of our good friends in the audience, Eric Johansson, said that skills are 100% supported, and agents are as well. Um, the way they show up in the prompting may be a little bit different, or the in the chat window might be a little bit different, but other than that, it looks like they're supported. And while you're going through all of this as well, I don't know if we mentioned, but like you don't have to write all of these files out by hand. And one of the tricks that I like to use is if I go through a certain workflow and it's, taken a couple prompts to get there, at the end of everything, once I'm done, I'll just ask the AI through a final prompt and say, create me a prompt. Or you could say, create me a skill or whatever it is that you want to get out of this. You say, create me a prompt to do the last task that we just accomplished, and it'll actually generate out that whole prompt file for you. And then you can stash it away in your own prompt library and access it again, to repeat processes that are repeatable things that you do often. And then also, if you are using our MCP tools, the Telerik Agentic UI Generator, the Kendo Generator, or the ones for Angular and React, you can also go to the documentation where you've found the installation instructions for those MCP tools. And we have prompt libraries in there as well to help you get started in case you just don't know how to ask the questions to get the components written that you'd like. We have some examples in there for you to get going.
I think we've gone through kind of our setup, and everybody wants to see us implement something. But first, we're going to jump over to the thing we're going to implement. So if I can share something else. So this is sort of a bonus thing that you're going to hear about today that you weren't prepared for. Progress Agentic RAG. This is a really neat tool. This is Retrieval-Augmented Generation. Yeah. Basically, this is going to be a tool that will allow you to create a chatbot around your data. In this case, we have a pretend e-commerce store. It is Egbert's automaton outlet. Egbert sells parts for robots and cyborgs, right? And so here it is. We have this page, and it has kind of people have called in and I lost my shipment or it shipped late, right? And we have a call center of a bunch of humans who are trying to help answer these calls, but humans, they don't remember everything. There's too much documentation. I generated a whole bunch of documentation for this pretend store, and I uploaded it into this tool. As you can see, here's order fulfillment documents and different troubleshooting and policies. And Progress Agentic RAG is going to absorb all of this information and give us a chat window back. This is a really neat tool. Uh, I have some fellow consultants that at a large telecom sort of built this same thing last year. They had a call center. They needed to be able to improve their agents' ability to answer questions. And so they built out a custom RAG tool, and then we kind of saw this product come out, and we sat through the demo, and the my coworker who had built all this stuff was like, "It's everything we did, and it's better. It's a fantastic tool." So we upload our documents, it kind of absorbs them, um, and then we can query it. So it's like, when is the uh, busiest time of the year? And this is going to come back and it's going to tell me, hey, it's Robonica. This is obviously this is actually using our data, and this isn't just chat gpt coming up with an answer, because that's not the answer that it would give, right? It has the context of, this is the store, these are my documents, and it gave us an answer. It's, here's the answer. And not only did it give us the answer, it gave us the documents that it used to come up with the answer. So we can pull these up and we can see um, more detail, more context around that answer. Really neat tool, incredibly easy to use. No code was needed to do what I did. You can write custom code and you can use their API. You can do all kinds of special implementations. You can have something that checks your database, every hour, and updates this based on new customer data that comes in. Uh, really impressive. I don't know enough about it to explain it the way Ed can. So, Ed, would you like to jump in at all?
This is actually one of my favorite things right now. I just got done writing a C# SDK for the Progress Agentic RAG platform because I thought it was so awesome. We had to bring it to all of our .NET folks as well. So currently there's an SDK for JavaScript, TypeScript, and Python, and now C# is out there in preview. So if you're not familiar, we're going to talk about retrieval-augmented generation for just a minute. And what this means is we are going to allow you to semantically search for um, or through unstructured data and find results and get really intelligent answers from that data. And the way this works is we are going to search not on keyword like we would normally do, for the last decade, but we are going to search by semantic similarity instead. And this is really awesome because we're going to get a lot better answer. We're going to search by the meaning of what we want rather than an exact keyword that we need to find, a text comparison on. And when we do this, we're going to pull that search result out, and then we're going to rewrite a prompt behind the scenes without the user knowing it. And then we are going to regenerate a new answer based on the information that was pulled back from search. So you get that AI generated text, but it's all backed with your data from your unstructured data with citations that map back to where it retrieved that data from, so you know it wasn't hallucinated. So you have that security in knowing that this is valid real world data. And the way we do this is we start out by chunking and ingesting your data in. So Ryan will show you in a minute the AI dashboard where you can do all of this, and you can do it through APIs as well. But Progress Agentic RAG supports images, text, video, and you can dump this in to the database, and the database will chunk this up into smaller bits and store those in semantically by semantic meaning as a vector in a vector database. So this allows that semantic search to happen and allows you to pull back resources. And when you look at RAG as a solution, there's like a lot of moving pieces to it. You've got all these different document providers you have to worry about. There's PDFs and Word docs and Markdown files and standard text and transcripts and you name it. And then we still haven't talked about images and video formats and all of those things. So you have to worry about all of that. And then you have to have a data strategy, like how do you tag all of this? How do you vectorize all of those different things? What models do you use to do embedding and do chat? And then how do you evaluate and make sure that everything is running accurately? So there's a lot involved here. And then we haven't even talked about putting it in front of the user yet. So there's a lot of pieces that go into RAG architecture. And that's why we built Progress Agentic RAG. Is it's RAG as a service. So you don't have to worry about going to 4 different vendors to get these pieces and try to put them together yourself. You have it all in a box where you can just ingest anything and make sense of your unstructured and structured data, do hybrid retrieval search, and then you have built-in quality and evaluation through agents that are built into the agentic RAG system. And then, of course, we have the best UIs for our products as well. So there are some built into the system, and then you can roll your own in whatever framework that you choose if you want something super custom. So that's my overview pitch, Ryan. Feel free to jump back in and take over.
The Progress Agentic RAG team has their own model to trained to improve the system, right? Identify what data is missing, identify where bad answers are. So, as Ed mentioned, this won't hallucinate an answer. If it does not know the answer to the question, it'll just say there's no results. We don't have an answer for this. Let's go find it and upload it to the system and keep improving. I think I saw a question about does it cost money? Yes, you bet this system costs money. It is what's nice about it is it's a monthly fee. There's not like some big upfront setup. You can just pay a few $700 a month, something like that, to get started and start uploading your data, and then just share it with all of your team, and you can start using it. Here is here is the widget panel where we can just create our custom widgets. I think there's a different themes in here, different modes. So it's a modal, it'll pop up. I think there's something in here to make sure it obfuscates certain data. And
Yeah,
then here's
we
your
do
widget.
have II built in, so any privately identifiable information can be just by ticking a box removed from ingestion and results. And it looks like your Wi-Fi broke up for a little bit of the start there. I think you were showing the ability to upload data, and your video cut out for a moment.
Oh, yeah. I think I mentioned that, yeah, you can upload video and then it will transcribe the video and become part of the search, which is really neat, being able to set things up like that. Here we
So
go.
one of the questions
This,
was where do the documents and everything live? So there is a database known as the Nuclea database that stores the documents in their whole file format, as well as the vectorized data. So you can retrieve either or. So like you showed in the search here, there are citations, and if you dig into the citations, you'll be able to get to the resources as well.
right, right. Anything you search for, I don't know. It's probably not going to give me an answer here. But yeah, whenever you get your results, you always get, oh, hey, look at that. We do have box sizes, right? And then you can get to your documents that way. So all of the data is stored in a progress server somewhere. Um, can this be on premise if there was
There
concern?
are hybrid approaches to this, so it's a little bit more in depth technically than we have time for, but there is a hybrid approach. And then we do host on AWS, so everything is in Azure, and there is a multitude of options for model hosting as well. So we use mostly models through Azure, but you can choose other providers, and you can choose models from Google, Amazon, open source, DeepSeek, all of those. but generally they're hosted through Azure, but there are custom hosting options as well.
All right, let's jump into some implementation. So we've created a widget. It's given us this code snippet, and now we can jump back to our code window. That's not a code window. There we go. So now we can jump back to our code window, and I have already copy and pasted that code. So this is a web component for the search bar, and then there's another web component for the search results. It is going to need your API key, so make sure you get that from that window. It just says like put your API key here. So make sure you set this up, and then it'll automatically have your knowledge box and things set up. You can create these as environment variables if you needed to. There also is a script that needed to be copied over. I put that in here already. This just is a script that establishes that web component. So you could even throw this on like a Sitefinity page if you wanted to. Just throw that in one spot and then the other thing where you want it, and now you're ready to go. But right now we have this page. It does not have a chat anywhere. So that's what we're going to implement. We're going to say, hey, throw another page here so we get that chat. So let's jump
So we
back
get to use
again.
the the UI generator again to create a whole page.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So we have our spec for a chat page. So I asked it to create that. I said, I've already got the component. So let's just let it run. It already hit the Kendo MCP server to figure out which icon to use. So it already knows. And now we can create a new chat window, and then we can go bit spec implement. And actually, because I have this highlighted, it actually says line 42 to 46. So unclick. There we go. We don't want to have a specific line. We want to use the
Yeah.
whole spec file. All right, and then we have our models. I'm going to let Sonnet run. I think I get the best results from Claude Sonnet. I get really good results from Haiku, and it costs less. So I definitely use this when I'm writing tests. But if I'm writing something that's like, I don't want to be embarrassed in front of hundreds of people on a webinar, I'm using Claude Sonnet. Here we go. So we'll let that run. And now we sit back and watch. I wish there was a nice way to have picture in picture on this, so you could see what we're getting. But
I think it's interesting that you pointed out that it got the icon and made it part of the spec file. So when people typically think about the UI generator, hence the name UI generator, they're usually picturing in their head like it's gonna generate the UI and markup, but it can also do other things like you just showed, help creating the spec file out. And I think what's really interesting there is in Visual Studio Code, there is a planning mode that you can use where you can have the AI plan out and build, for example, like the spec file that you have without executing code. And it works in that scenario as well. Even if it's not executing code or it's an ask mode where you're just asking it questions, you can still invoke the MCP tool and make sure that you're getting accurate data back, like you said, with the icon. So it's given you the SVG icon formatting and the icon type spec and everything that you need. Really cool.
is it still running? Is it done?
I think it just
Okay.
finished while I was talking.
Yes. Um, so I'm going to jump over and show you what it did because it actually works at this stage. But we're running a little on time. So it has created a to-do list. Like in the spec, it kind of breaks down what to do nicely, and so as it's working, it breaks it up too. When it goes from this step, and says, hey, are you ready for me to move on? It's going to sort of not completely clear its context, but it seems to have gotten pretty smart at eliminating what it no longer needs. So by having a spec and having it nicely broken down, uh, you just tend to get even better performance over here. So it helps you go even a little bit faster. And so now we can jump over to here. And as you can see, right, we've got, it added this. This was not here before. And now I can ask, uh, my order is late. What do I do? And you can see, hey, we've brought this tool in, and it's even able to create a modal with the link to the documentation where the answers are. So I will I'll call that a success. Um, Obviously, if we could sit here for 8 hours, we could go in a little bit deeper and watch it build every little bit. Um, but hopefully, we've shown a pretty good example of how to set things up, how to prepare your spec document, and how to then just sit back and let it work.
Yeah, it's all very interesting. It gives you more consistency this way, right? You can go in and one shot like everything, and it'll be pretty successful. Like you can build a page out, you could build a view out, but if you want something that's repeatable, you want to have consistency across pages in your application, component implementations. You have a certain way of doing things. You can even add like tone of voice type of prompts to your workflow to make sure that like company branding and messaging and stuff is on on the pages accurately and validated. There's all sorts of things that you could do with these prompt workflows. Um, I just was curious if you could go back and look through some of the history on when it added these things. Because we see it's added to like the sidebar as navigation, and then it added a whole page. Do you know where that's at in the chat history where it added those items?
Good question. Let's see.
Be interesting to see if we could pick it out of that workflow that it did, just so people can see where it actually did the work.
There we go. Yeah. So it broke it down into some different steps. So if we scroll up, um, it's going to say it reviewed the spec, what it needs to do, um, and then kind of worked its way through. So yeah, the first step it did was just adding that route, making sure that worked, which is nice that it is breaking these pieces down, and
Mhm.
then it checks for the that import. Now it says it's going to kind of combine a few steps since they're all changing the same file. Does that, adds the icon, adds the menu item, and see in here it didn't even really it didn't need to connect to the Kendo MCP server because it actually did it in the spec step.
You did it in the
It
planning phase.
knew right, it knew exactly what it needed to import. Added that route, and
It
then
checked for TypeScript errors too.
and it stopped to check with me. Right at this point, it's like, hey, I did these. This is a good time for you to look. Uh,
Mhm.
you go try it, make sure it works before I keep going, which is good because the farther along it gets with a mistake, the more likely it is you have to throw everything away and start over. So yeah, so it's how it tells me what to do to verify it. If everything looks good, please proceed. At which point I would just type proceed and let it keep running and writing some tests. Um, yeah, it. If I had a design, if I had a Figma link, for example, which if you have a Figma MCP server, you can like just right click an element you want and copy the link and paste it to your AI, and it'll be able to go over to your Figma desktop and grab it. Um, you could have it run a screenshot and verify that they look the same. At this point, uh, I didn't give it a design, so therefore I am not doing that. Um,
The
yeah.
Agentic UI Generator will look at the context of the components that you're using and the design styles that you've applied. And it'll also look at the design system of the progress design system that's built into the Kendo UI components. So there are design tokens and variables that are assigned to all of those design tokens, and it will inspect your to see if you've had any customization there. So if you've added any um, new variables to that to those tokens, you've added a color that you want, whatever, it will pick that up in the Agentic UI generator for both Blazor and Angular and React. So it'll know that you have a custom style implemented. One thing that I noticed is when I used um, just Copilot without the MCP server, it does a lot of generating of its own CSS. So it'll create a bunch of layouts, and it'll literally created 500 lines of CSS to go with like the whole page that it generated. And then I was like, oh wait, it missed like picking up that I have this already available. So I went back and I told the assistant, I was like, make sure you use the Telerik MCP because I already have a design system. And it dropped like 500 lines of CSS down to like 20. It was like only 20 of it was actually something that wasn't already in the CSS files and the utility classes that I already had present. So there's a lot of easy wins if you know where to look sometimes. If you want to continue the discussion, jump over to our Discord channel. We have a Discord channel that is called Progress Labs, and we would be happy to have questions in there about the webinar, AI-assisted coding, any of the tools that you saw today, Progress Agentic RAG, you name it. Just come in there and drop a line, and we'll respond to that and have conversations. And we have some important links here as well. You can find this on the urllist.com, Kendo MCP Productivity Webinar. Ryan's got a great article on there that he wrote about all of the things that you saw, and there's links to the MCP servers and some of the Telerik stuff that you saw today and Progress Agentic RAG and whatnot.
Yeah, there's a link to the repo I was playing with, along with sort of those prompts that you could just pull out of there and put them into your project.
Everybody's workflows are different and everybody's tools, vary. So the best thing to do is just go try it, right? Go to telerik.com, grab whatever tool that you use, find the MCP for it. It's really easy to find on the main menu up at the top. There's an MCP server link at the top. Grab those MCP servers, kick the tires on it, try some prompts out, see what it feels like to code with these tools.